All right, we are here. We are back. I am super excited to introduce our next amazing speaker. If you want to highlight Jeff, that would be great. I'm going to read his bio real quick. He's an entrepreneur and a success coach with a passion for helping others achieve their biggest dreams. Jeff helps athletes to reach their full potential by mastering the mental game and constantly competing with a high level of confidence. He teaches people to become optimal performing entrepreneurs and to dominate by becoming the go-to authority in their industry. He starts with a focus on the mindset, which is huge. Taking his client on their client or their business to the next level always begins with the right mindset. Jeff enjoys using his extensive experience in the banking industry, over 20 years as an entrepreneur, plus his training and experience as a coach to help his clients break through. So, Jeff, welcome. Everybody, y'all want to make sure that you are following Jeff. He is going to be talking on creating a powerful mindset. It's Jeff, Heggie. If you want to follow him, it's Jeff Heggie Coaching on Instagram or the Confident Athlete Program. So, Jeff, take it away. I'm excited to take some notes.
Awesome. Amy, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Excited to be here. I've seen your lineup of speakers. This is an awesome event that I'm grateful for you to put it on, and hopefully everyone will be able to have the opportunity to take a lot from the different speakers and really grow from it. I'm excited to talk about a few things, and Amy, feel free to jump in whenever you want with questions or comments or anything you want to add. As I was thinking about what I wanted to speak on and how I wanted to proceed with this, I was obviously thinking specifically of the athletes I work with, of my own athletes, my kids that I've worked with from that perspective, and the things that I see that have been really impactful. For you that have been on, for the other speakers, with Tammy Matheny, we run the Confident Athlete Program together. And so it's an incredible opportunity for me to work with athletes from a wide variety of sports. And it's been pretty awesome. I have over 20 years experience coaching basketball, grew up playing all the sports from hockey, basketball, boxing, and I was a professional rodeo cowboy for a number of years. And so I've got a lot of different experiences on the mental side of the game, and really probably develop more of my knowledge around that subject as a coach than I ever did as an athlete, which I wish I would have learned a lot more as an athlete and realized the importance of understanding those aspects of it. But I think regardless of what we're looking at, whether it's looking at how we're competing to, I know some of the speakers you've got coming up, we had a event just recently around the mental game with athletics and academics. It plays in so much. And I think as parents, as coaches, we see that as one of the things with our athletes is there's so many things that your son or daughter gets from being an athlete that helps them throughout the rest of their lives. You know, and Tammy and I talk a lot about that in the Confident Athlete Program. The things that we're teaching and helping our athletes with are obviously to help them in their athletic field right now. But they're also the same things that if they weren't an athlete, I would hope I could teach them the same things just to make them a better person and help them throughout their life. So what I want to talk about today is some of the basic things that I love to work with athletes on to create some of their habits, their success habits around their mindset, and how that's something they can work on every single day. And the way I first started doing this was working with athletes and realizing the importance, one, of having goals. You know, if you go back in any of the great literature, and it talks about the importance of your goals, knowing where you're going, all of those things. If you've ever heard of Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, he talks about putting a ship out into the harbor without a rudder, without a captain, and 99 times out of 100, it's just going to end up a derelict on the shore somewhere, right? But when we put a captain at the helm, we put a all the things in place to help it get to where it's going to go, it's going to get there. And that's the same thing with our athletes. It's one thing to play a sport just because you love it, which is what we try to remind our athletes of all the time is, why did you start your sport? Because you love it and you're having fun. But you've also got those goals, and it's important to set those goals and have a direction where you're going. And so a few of the things I want to touch on today are how we set those goals. Because if your athlete's goal is to get to college and play at that level, whether it's Division I, JUCO, whatever it is, those are great accomplishments. But it's really hard to get there if you don't have the goal to get there and create the plan of what you need to do. And that's where events like this come into place to help you as a parent, to help you as a coach, to help your athletes understand the things that they need to do to put these things in place. So what I want to talk about is a little bit about my goal setting process that I love to put people through, plus what I call my mindset questions, which is something that ties into their daily habits. So the first thing, I love visualization, because you can look at anything around you. There's nothing that has been created that isn't first created in our mind. Everything's created twice. It's created in our mind, then it's created physically. And that's the same thing with the outcomes that we're trying to have as athletes, as coaches, whatever it is. We've got to create that in our mind before we can ever create it in reality. And so part of the goal setting process I love to use is using our visualization. And I'll sit an athlete down and I'll say, okay, let's think about what you want, but put yourself out a year from today. And if you put yourself out a year from today, and it's been the absolute best year of your life, everything went exactly how you wanted it to go, what happened? What are the things that happened over the last 12 months that made that the best year of your life? And as they start to visualize that, I help them take those things and say, okay, those things that you see a year from now that are the best year of your life, those are what we're going to create your goals from. We're going to create your goals around those specific things. And so when you can take those things that created that best year of your life, whether, depending on the athlete, it might be making the varsity team, it might be getting that scholarship, whatever it is, you create your goals around that. But having that goal is one thing, but what you're going to do with that goal next is really what you've got to think about. And before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about, you hear all about the different ways of how you need to set goals. And I'm sure most of you have heard of SMART goals. And one of the challenges around that is the R, which is realistic. And the reason I say that's a challenge is because I've always bought into that concept of your goals need to be realistic, which I still buy into, but I want to explain why I'm challenged with it a little bit. There's actually, for those of you that can see me on video, this book came out a while ago, 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. I had an opportunity to do a pre-read of the book before they released it. And in the introductory chapter, they talk about some things that really changed my way of thinking. And they were talking about a mastermind event they were at, and it was a Joe Polish event. And Joe Polish was talking about their businesses. And he said, I want everyone to start talking about how are you going to increase your business this year by 10%. And there was a guy there by the name of Dr. Alan Bernard. And he stood up and he says, that's actually a terrible question, and kind of threw everyone off. Like, why is that a terrible question? He says, because if you look at it, there's a lot of different things that we could do that could get that result. We could look at bottom line, top line, all the different things, and it could increase our businesses by 10%. However, if you ask the question, how are you going to 10x your business? That's a much better question, because there's very few things, or if any things you can do that are going to allow you to 10x your business. And what that does is it narrows your focus to the things that really matter, that are going to get you where you want to go. And he called them impossible goals. And what he said was, what that causes you to do, we've all heard of the 80-20% rule. It causes you to look at everything you're doing and saying, okay, what's the 80% of things I'm doing that is not going to help me achieve that goal? What are the 80% of things that I'm doing that aren't going to get me that Division I scholarship? And what are the 20% of things that are going to? Your schooling, your specific practices, those sort of things. And that's what you need to focus on. And so that's where he talked about the importance of impossible goals. So that's, the realistic goals, the impossible goals. I'm a little torn between there, because I do want my athletes to think a lot bigger. And what you need to be able to do there is deal with the outcomes, because, well, I'll get to that when I talk about your why, because when you don't achieve those goals, that's why so many people set New Year's resolutions and by February they've given up on them, is because they're not making the progress. So the thing I love about realistic goals is it's got to be something that you're making progress towards. The thing about impossible goals, it's got to be something that helps you narrow down your focus and dedication to what you're trying to achieve. So I don't want athletes to set goals that they get discouraged by, but at the same time, I want them thinking very big. But we can talk more about that. But as we do this, the part I mentioned about knowing your why, that is a big part. Knowing your purpose, knowing your why behind those goals is a big part of setting that goal, because it doesn't matter what that goal is. You're going to look at it and say, okay, these are the things I have to do, but there's going to be days that you don't want to do it. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days that you don't want to get up for that early morning practice. You don't want to do that extra little bit after practice, whatever it might be. But when you really have a true understanding of your why, that's what's going to push you through. Now, 99% of the time, when I talk to someone about their goals and I ask what their why is, they have a why. But I have a process that I go through to help them realize that that's just a surface level why. It's a process I learned from Dean Graziosi. It's called 7 Levels Deep. And it's a process to help you take it from a surface level why to more of an emotional, heartfelt why that really means something. I went through this process with four people this week. Every one of them was a guy, and every one of them was in tears by the time they came up with their why, because they were so emotionally tied to the purpose behind what they wanted to achieve. And I have a training on the 7 Levels Deep that I'll tell you at the end how you can get that for free. But I have a whole training that you can go through to help you go through that process and really figure it out. I did this with a group of ladies in Nashville a year ago. And the feedback I got from it, I did it virtually, and I did it with the one lady, the head of the team. And then the emails I got later were, that was such an impactful thing. We all thought we had our purpose, we knew our why, but when you go through this process, it really helps you really figure it out. Now, the cool thing was, one of those ladies reached out to me this year and said, you know what? I achieved every goal that I set, and I wouldn't have if I hadn't known my why. And so it's something I really encourage you to do, whatever your goals are, to figure that out. But the next part that you need to do is, how are you going to act upon those goals, especially if you're setting really big goals? Because just like I said with your New Year's resolutions, if you set a big goal and you don't feel like you're making progress, unless you've got a strong enough why, it's really easy just to say, you know what, it's not going to happen. So the next step that I do with athletes is say, okay, there's your goal. That's what you want it to look like in a year. What do you have to do month to month over the next 12 months to make that a reality? And we set up our monthly action plans, the goals that they have to achieve each month to make that a reality. And then each month we break that down. Okay, you know that this month, this is what you have to achieve, so that in a year you're going to achieve that goal. Well, from there, we break that down into weekly goals. And then we break it down into daily accountability, because every day there's a million things that happen in our lives. There's a million things that are urgent. But every morning I ask them, okay, what's the one important thing you need to do that's going to help you achieve your weekly goal? Because if they can just focus on that one thing, that tiny little progress they can make on a daily basis is going to help them achieve that weekly goal. That weekly goal might seem small compared to that goal they want to achieve in a year. But when you add the 4 weeks together and all of a sudden they hit that monthly goal, and all of a sudden they hit month after month, they start hitting these goals and they make this progress and momentum, that bigger goal that they're going to achieve in a year isn't so big as long as they do something every single day. And I do this. I have accountability groups that this morning, my accountability group, the first thing they do is they get on the call. There's 10 of them. And they said, my why is this. They state their why. They said, yesterday I was accountable to this. I did it. Today I'm accountable to this. It's all it is. In the Confident Athlete program, we like to connect the athletes with each other just to help them do the exact same thing. Hold each other accountable. Even if I watched a 15-minute module today about self-talk that helped me understand this. Today, I'm accountable to watch another module. So those little things of accountability are going to help you do the things every day that add up to the big things. Now, keep me on track too, Amy. I could talk about this for hours, so make sure I'm on track here. The next step that we like to talk about when we're talking about all of these things is, I'm going to tie in, well, I'll tie it in a moment. One of the things I mentioned earlier was my mindset questions. And this is something, well, I'll give it to you right now. If you go to jeffheggie.com/mindset, you can get these mindset questions for free, or you can get my mindset journal, which has them plus a planner and everything tied in with it. But what these mindset questions are some questions that I devised that are quick and easy to go through, but it's just a habit that you create, that every morning you fill out the mindset questions and every evening you fill out the mindset questions. Part of that is also writing out your goals every day. And the reason, there's a number of reasons, but the first reason I want them to write out their goals every day is because of your reticular activating system, your RAS. If you've never heard of your RAS before, it's the thing, well, I'll give you a story that I like to use to explain what it is. When we moved from Alberta to Arizona, my daughter got into Montana, her car broke down, it was dead. When we got to Arizona, I had to buy her a new car. She found this little black Mitsubishi Spider convertible. It was a car that I had never seen before, but it was a really cool little sports car. Bought it for her, and all of a sudden I start seeing this car everywhere. Now, it wasn't that car wasn't around before. It just wasn't important to me, and I hadn't noticed it. But now that my daughter had that car, I was noticing it everywhere. And that's what your RAS is. It's when you buy a new dress and all of a sudden you see other people wearing the same dress. It's when you're walking through a crowded, noisy gymnasium and someone says your name and you hear it. Your mind, your RAS, picks out the things that are important to you. And so the important thing about writing out your goals every day is you're telling your RAS, your filter, that these things are important to you. And that helps you figure out the things that you need to do to achieve those goals. Something might happen that normally you wouldn't have paid attention to, but because it's something that could impact that goal that you have, it stands out to you. And so one of the things of my mindset questions is writing out your goals every day. And then I have a series of questions. In the morning, there's 8 questions, and in the evening, there's 6 questions. And they're just a way to prime yourself for the day. I mean, the one that probably my favorite, the first 2 are my favorite 2 questions. First one is, what are you grateful for today? You know, just having that gratitude. The gratitude is such a powerful tool. And to teach young athletes to have gratitude really will impact their mindset. The second one is, what is one thing that you can do today that'll make you step out of your comfort zone? And that's a tough question, because if you think about it, you don't want to step out of your comfort zone. It's not natural. But every time you've stepped out of your comfort zone to do something, and then you did it again, and then you did it again, it got easier every single time. And you got more confident in that thing. And so if every single day you're looking for an opportunity to step out of your comfort zone, every day you're going to grow your confidence. You're going to become more confident in that thing. So there's a lot of days. It's a hard question. I remember this morning in my mindset journal, writing it out. How am I going to step out of my comfort zone today? And I had to think about it. I don't have anything planned today that's uncomfortable to me. And so how am I going to put myself in that position? And so we go through those questions. At the very last one goes back to the same thing as if you have an accountability partner. What is the one thing I will commit to do today that'll get me closer to my bigger goal? So whether you've got an accountability partner or not, you're at least doing it here. Now, my preference is you have to have an accountability partner. You've got to have someone that is going to hold you accountable, that is not a close friend, a spouse, or a parent, or something like that. And I'll tell you why. When I first got an accountability coach, I was on a call. We would do it every morning at 6 a.m. And the one thing that I remember on this call, I said, I'm accountable today. I've got 20 outreaches I have to make. And that's what I'm accountable for today. After that call, nothing that day went as I had planned. It was an incredibly productive day. I got a lot done. And at the end of the day, I thought, I got so much done today. That was an awesome work day. And then I started thinking, you know what? I didn't do what I was accountable to, but I justified it. I was like, that's okay. It's still such a good day. But then I got thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get on that call tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and tell the other 9 people on the call that I didn't do what I said I would do. And so I got it done. And that's what accountability do, and having an accountability partner that's going to hold you to what you're going to say. So even though it's in the accountability, the mindset questions, I still encourage you to get a partner, get someone that's going to hold you accountable. In the evening, 6 more questions, and they're very simple. What happened today that was great? What did I handle well today? What did I learn today? I learned this question came from one of my athletes. When I lived up in Canada, it was a high school kid. Every time I saw him, he would say to me, what did you learn today, Coach Heggie? And it would always make me think. And I love that question. And so that's one of my mindset questions is, what did you learn today? How could you have made today even better? And then this one I think is really important is, what will I be working on tomorrow that my conscious and subconscious mind need to be finding solutions for? What this does, it allows me to go through my whole schedule for the following day, and it allows me to go into the next day prepared. I've thought about the things that I need to. My subconscious mind has created solutions that I don't even have to think about because it's working on its own. And then the last one, which is important, is, did I do the one thing that I committed to this morning that'll get me closer to my bigger goals? And so there's a lot of things tied into that, but it's a simple process of creating the habits of priming yourself every single day. Just like I was saying with my accountability coach and that experience, I call this bookending your days. I got that term from Darren Hardy because what it does, we can control how we start our day. We can control how we end our day. Oftentimes we can't control what happens in between, but if we can create the habit to go through these mindset questions every single morning, go through our schedule, get all those things figured out. The third question in the morning, or what are your top 3 priorities today? Part of the mindset journal is a list where I put all my tasks for the day, but then I take my top 3 and put them above. And from there, they actually go into a schedule. And so that the top priorities are put into the schedule. And so there's a lot of those habits that is, you can create those, especially, I was in a room the other day and a kid got a phone call, and it was one of his buddies asking him about some schedule. He's like, I just got to put these things into my calendar. And he was making fun of him. He's like, you've got a calendar scheduling all your things. And as athletes who have these big goals, when they treat things serious, when they schedule things, when they plan out what they're going to do, they're setting themselves up for success. When they plan out, at this time, I'm committed to this personal practice, and a conflict comes up, their buddies want to go out and party or something, but they're committed and they've already scheduled that, they're setting themselves up for success. So when we can start our days like this, end our days like this, regardless of what happens in between, we have control of where things are and how things are going. So hopefully that's a way to help you get started. The mindset journal is on Amazon. Just search Mindset Journal Jeff Heggie. But the mindset questions are free, jeffhaggie.com/mindset. But the one thing I wanted to talk about, I talked about the 7 levels deep process of figuring out your why. It's such an important process, whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or anything else. It's an important process to go through. And Tammy and I have included it in our mental strength success secrets for free. So in there, there's actually a whole resource, 20 ways to master your self-talk, 20 exercises to master your body language, our pre-game visualization scripts, our preparation checklist, and the 7-level deep exercise. But additional to that, it also comes free with a 2-week trial of the Confident Athlete program. So if you want to get that, go to confidentathleteprogram.com. You can get all that for free. The 2-week trial of the Confident Athlete program, you can full access to everything. If it's not for you, just cancel before the 2 weeks and you never get charged a thing. And everything else is yours to keep.
Oh my goodness, that was so good and also true. So Versette, can you go ahead and drop Jeff's freebie link? Yes, there is his link. It's a 14-day free membership, what he just was talking about, to the Confident Athlete program, plus the mental strength success secrets for free. And just like you said, just get it for 2 weeks and then just make sure if you don't want to keep going, you can cancel it out. He said, go to the mindset on Amazon, Jeff Heggie, Mindset Journal. And so follow him, the Confident Athlete, on Instagram. Setting goals is so huge, and writing them down is even bigger, and putting it in front of your face. And I am a paper girl still. I just have to write like my to-do list every day. Even after I've done it, I still have to write down what I've done so I can check it off to say I've accomplished something today. And so this is the same thing with your goals. Like, put down like everything that you're wanting to do and get those hours of operation of, times that you're writing it down, times that you're doing your workout, times that you're setting your stuff, times that you're meeting with and doing the right things that are going to help you get to the next level is huge.
You know what's cool about it too? I mean, part of success is fulfillment. And I love taking the mindset journal and telling an athlete, okay, go back. What were your goals 6 months ago? And they read them and they're like, you know what? I've achieved these. I'm living the goals that I had 6 months ago. And so it's really cool having a record of that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, all right. I appreciate y'all. Y'all make sure that you go follow Jeff on Instagram. Go get his little 2-week free trial. He's offered so much value. Jeff, thank you so much for being open and willing today to give everybody your value, because I know I took a bunch of notes. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Appreciate it. And good luck with everyone.